Welcome to the next edition of GOP Tech Week. We're going to get really technical today, but before we get into the tech, I want to talk to you about some headlines this week. There are a lot of security and privacy headlines this week, and I've got some stuff to show you. Last week we talked about Yandex and using Yandex email. Well, Yandex also has a browser, and I had stopped using Yandex for a few months, so I revisited the Yandex browser, which is available on Android, on your desktop, on your iPad, and even on your little handheld, Android tablet or what have you. Also available on Linux, Windows, and Mac OS. So the great thing that I rediscovered about the Yandex browser is what you're seeing here is these little tiny stories, the Yandex news feed, which it uses AI to assemble for you. And for a conservative reader, Yandex's reader is great. It notices that I tend to gravitate toward conservative story, so it feeds me more. And you know, I'm interested in conservative politics, and I'm also interested in technology. So the Yandex browser has been real good at feeding me what I want to read, and it gives me politics and technology. And it only took it a few hours to figure out what I want to see, and it's feeding me the headlines what I want to see. And it'll give me the picture from the story, so I have a nice visual feed. It'll give me the first 25 or 50 words or so of the story along with the headline. And I find myself using this Yandex reader more and more as it learns more about me and gets more relevant. And it's so nice to sit out here where I normally drink my morning coffee and to be able to use any of my devices to scroll through the headlines that Yandex is supplying me. So take a look at the Yandex browser. I think you might like it, and it's available on every single device I've ever touched. So it's pretty nice. You can also share your configuration through your Yandex email, and that way the bookmarks and so forth that you've set on this device will show up over here on this device. So it's a pretty nice reader to explore. Now, let's get on to the headlines this week, because there's a lot going on that conservative technologists should know about. First of all, WhatsApp CEO Jan Koum departed Facebook. We've known about this for about 10 or 20 days, but he finally made his departure final, and his reasons for departure are very interesting. WhatsApp is a very, very popular encryption communications program based on OpenWhisper technology, which OpenWhisper is about the most secure that you can get. The problem is Mr. Koum is departing Facebook because of privacy and weakening encryption. And WhatsApp is owned by Facebook, of course, and Facebook, well, we all know about the headlines that Facebook has been experiencing lately. So WhatsApp, what's it good for? Well, I'll confess, I still use WhatsApp because a lot of my contacts are in WhatsApp. So I don't use WhatsApp for critical communications, but I will use WhatsApp to identify my friends who are a little bit concerned about secure communications. They wouldn't have downloaded WhatsApp otherwise. And I did share my contacts book with WhatsApp because they do have a secure way of looking at your phone book without violating your privacy, I hope. Without violating your privacy. They do it using hashes, so there's an element of safety there. Share your contact, and then you'll get back the contacts that have WhatsApp installed. Signal has the same function. I regard Signal's use of that function as being a lot safer. But you know, you can use WhatsApp to identify your contacts that are concerned about security, most likely the people you most want to have secure communications with, because they're already concerned about security too. And use WhatsApp to send them a message saying, hey, get Signal or get Wicker Me, and get on that, and then we can have a real secure communication. Well, I realize WhatsApp is really tempting because it has that video conference, a video telephone call capability, which is really nice. If I'm calling my wife, I'll use that, you know. But if I'm having an important communication, I want to get off of WhatsApp and get onto a more secure communication. Facebook is also forming a blockchain division, which is going to be great for making people feel like they're more secure, their privacy is more protected. It's going to be another method for Facebook to draw in more people because they're getting excited about blockchain technology and draw in more people and make them feel safe when they're not really any safer. So blockchain technology is just Facebook using, marketing buzzwords to promote their business. This week, we had headlines that there was a bug in Signal that allowed notifications in Mac devices to persist on our device even after the message had already been devised. Now, this was Mac OS notifications, which is, you'll get a notification when you get an email, when you get a phone call, when somebody leaves voicemail. Notifications are part of the Macintosh OS. There was a bug where Signal would delete the message on schedule if you had it set for automatic disappearing messages, but the notification that you got to give you a heads up that you had traffic in Signal would persist. Now, Signal has repaired that bug, so if you see the news stories about that particular bug, that bug has been fixed. So the action item is to just go ahead and download the latest version of Signal, get Signal to update through the App Store, and you'll be good on Signal. That vulnerability no longer exists. So this week's GOP Tech Week is the fourth of 4 installments that we have on privacy and security. The first was the Tor browser. And Tor is a great browser. That's the one that allows you to look at the dark web. Oh, scary stuff. That allows you to look at the dark web. You can also securely and mostly anonymously browse the entire internet. So if you're going someplace you'd rather deny later on, use Tor for that. The next thing we talked about was secure messaging, which we just discussed a little bit. That's applications like WickerMe and Signal, and use WhatsApp just as a way to migrate to Signal and a more secure communication, because WhatsApp is owned by Facebook. Enough said. Then we talked about offshore email. Offshore email being email that's outside the jurisdiction where the United States has authority to subpoena your email box contents and so forth. Probably never happened to any of us, but if you feel the need to be safe, that's one thing to know about. Use offshore email. I like Yandex, but there's a lot of other choices too. Then to this week's, we're going to talk about real encryption. And I don't like encryptions where we're leaving lots of keys littered on our system. We have lots of PGP keys and key rings and GPG keys and key rings. Because if my machine ever falls into the hands of my adversary, and my adversary sees lots of PGP and GPG key rings and keys laying all over my system, they're going to take a closer look. They're going to take a much closer look. In fact, all agencies have policies, written policies already in place that basically say if you see encryption equipment on a computer, you have to take a much closer look. So today we're going to use an encryption tool that doesn't leave any junk on your system, no PGP keys or key rings, no GPG keys or key rings. We're going to use one that's in a web browser. It doesn't install any software on your system at all. It's pretty clever, pretty neat. It's all done in JavaScript right in the web page, so that's really neat. So let's go to, first we've got to talk about key exchange. Key exchange is very easy now. It's done automatically with browsers when you go to a secure HTTPS website. But in this case, we're going to have to actually exchange a real key, and you got to be very careful with the key. So I suggest that you not actually send the key. Give your recipient a way to calculate the key. For instance, I might say, The key that you're going to use to decrypt my next message is your last name followed by your phone number followed by your email address with no punctuation except for what's normally in an email address and no spaces. That way, you know, my recipient, I know my recipient knows his name, I know he knows his email address, and I know he knows his own phone number. So I'm going to use something similar to that to encrypt, to use as a key to encrypt my message to him. That way I can be sure that he's got a pretty good possibility of being able to decrypt it if he's paying attention to what I told him in advance of sending him that encrypted email message. The whole thing done twice makes the email, makes the encrypted file or message even more secure. So let's go to the screen and take a look at how we actually do this. Okay, so as I noted earlier, we're going to use a encryption resource called encipher.it. And it's online, and it doesn't clutter your hard drive with keys or anything like that. So let's just go ahead and go to the website here. Of course, I'm using Tor because I want to be aware of my privacy, and this is something I don't want observed by any party, so I'm using the Tor browser, which will route me out through another country, and I can go to encipher it safely. So I'm going to type in encipher.it, which is supposedly a website in Italy. That's what the IT stands for. I doubt if it's actually in Italy. I haven't checked, but it is their domain protector service is actually in a small town in Germany. That would be Bonn, of course. And so we're going to use this. Now this is online. This actually loads all the encryption software that you need through JavaScript as part of your browser. So we're not actually downloading any encryption software onto our computer, and that's a good thing. The only thing we're going to have to be careful about is making our key, which I have to share with the recipient, because this is not a public-private key system. You'll just have one key that your recipient will have to know the key. So you have to find a way to convey or communicate the key to your recipient without having the key exchange observed or overheard, so to speak. So I'm going to go ahead and paste the message that I want to encrypt right in there. That's just some ipsum delorum text, that lorem ipsum text that's simulated Latin, but it's not really. So there's the text that I want to encrypt. So I'm going to click this blue button right down here, encipher it, and I'm going to start the encryption process. Now it's really very easy. Now earlier, before we started the on-screen part of the video, I told you a little bit about how we might affect a key exchange and how I would give you something that you could calculate a key exchange from. So I'm going to type in, using that method, I'm going to type in something here and some more. Being careful how I type it, because I want to type in the exact encryption key I think I'm typing in. And as you can see here, it's estimating that it will take centuries for someone to crack this. Now, if I know somebody is using PGP, I could check off PGP compatible here, but I don't need to do that because I know they're going to come to encipher it to decrypt this message as well, because I've brought them to an understanding of how the system works. And I'm just going to go ahead. I've got my key now. I've got my text over here, and I'm going to go ahead and click encipher it. It's generating the intermediate key. And as you can see, it takes a few seconds. And there we go. My ciphertext is right there. It's already highlighted. So I can just go Control-C. And then I'll go to my email program. And I'll just paste the ciphertext right into my email. Just like that. You notice there it does tell you that if you know the key, you can go to this web address to decipher ciphertext. So that's pretty easy. The only thing that's troublesome is the key exchange, and you do have to be careful about that. But if it's important enough that you want to use encryption, then it's important enough that you want to be careful about your key exchange as well. So that's how we do it. Now, you might ask me, Ron, where's your tinfoil hat? You know, and I really thought about wearing one for this video because I realized, yeah, I'm paranoid, but am I paranoid enough? Or it's not paranoia if they really are out to get you. None of us are really in any danger of that right now. None of the people I know, I don't think anybody's taking legal risks or anything like that. But it could come, you know, sometime in the next few years, it could come a time when we really do need this type of encryption. And it would probably, for some of us who feel we might be a little bit at risk, probably good to start becoming familiar with these tools right now. So I promise you next week we're going to give you something that's good on your website, it's good for raising money, and it's not a deep technical dive like this current series has been. Yeah, I like the technology, but I also realize sometimes I do a really deep dive and I get a little too technical for some people. That's going to change with next week's GOP Tech Week. So thanks for watching. I'm Ron Robinson with GOP Tech Week. Thank you for watching.